Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the Relevant Mids video. I quite enjoy doing these ones. I think it's probably the best way to get around to everything, give my 2 cents worth on basically any player that's in at least 2% of sides. I always feel as if they're in 2% of sides, someone out there's thinking about them. So there's probably players that I haven't mentioned throughout the year or the pre-season that you're sort of thinking, Shorty, what the hell do you think of this bloke? Well, this is where you can get your answer. Description and probably comments once I get around to that. There will be the timestamp in there. Certainly the description as soon as it's uploaded. So that'll probably help you find who you want to hear about. Got me Ford's vid uploading at the moment. Bit of a versus series that will either be up already or just loading. This one will be not too far away as well, but let's get stuck into it. I'll pretty much just give my 2 cents worth on everyone that's in the midfield. And like I said, if they're in 2% of sides, I'm going to talk about them. So hopefully it helps you, get a little bit of an idea of what I think about every relevant mid, and that's sort of what this whole video is about. They tend to be lengthy, so the timestamps should hopefully benefit you. But going live on Wednesday as well, 7:30 p.m. So feel free to get along and ask any questions as well. So that'd be cool. But let's get into it and really we'll start with the premiums and we'll work our way down. Neale, I probably don't have to convince people too much about that, do I? I think, he's a Jet. We know that. The ownership reflects it. If there was any concerns about him, it was that, pre-season wasn't ideal, calf concern, but, he played 2 pracky games and, looked really good in the second half. Once the Lions kind of pulled their finger out, basically, Neale really switched it on, had like 13 touches in the third quarter and just showed everyone that he can still find it at will. So I think we got to start him. Jack Steele, I don't feel as if he's a must-have. I understand if people do want to go with him. The only thing that detracts from me selecting him is that he's only done it once, and I try to have a little bit of bankability with my premiums, particularly the ones that are that expensive. I think the fact he's only done it once, whether he can keep doing it or not is another question, and at 660 basically, I'm happy to just find out. It's not to say he's going to be a shocker selection, but I'm quite happy to watch from the sidelines and just see how he goes, and if he keeps it up, I'll be more than happy to pick him up throughout the season. So he's not a starter for mine, but definitely an upgrade option. Clayton Oliver, if anyone's watched this channel for long enough, you'll know that I'm a massive Oliver fan and absolutely love the bloke. Touch concerned that his pre-season hasn't been ideal either. I would like to get a little bit of assurance that he's travelling okay. He missed that last pracky game with general soreness, was about all I could find out the other day. So, yeah, his shoulders are a bit of a concern at times. I'm not sure if it was to do with that, but look, if he's fully fit, he's a must for mine. Now, Jack Macrae, you guys will well know that my thoughts on Doggy's midfielders, I'm just not going near him. He could well average 120 over the first 6 weeks and, have me really missing out. But I'm comfortable to let the Doggies do their thing and me not be a part of it. You've got Bont, you've got Treloar, you've got Macrae, you've got Libber in there, you've got Smith, you've got Hunter on a wing. There's a hell of a lot happening in there. And for them to all average fantastic, over the course of the year, they'll probably still all have great averages, but there will be ebbs and flows. Some days, some will get more opportunity than others. And it just concerns me a minor bit that Macrae can be shifted onto a wing at times. I still think he's one of their very best players, but I'm just happy to sit and watch. I don't feel the need to crack into that Doggies midfield and go picking one. So you would have heard me sort of discuss that with Dunkley quite a bit. Petracca falls into the same category as Jack Steele. And I'd be more confident with Steele. I think Petracca will probably find an average between 105 and 110, in my opinion, which still makes him, I still think he's a stellar player, but averaging 117.5, I doubt that. I doubt it. But let's wait and see. He could come out and average real nice numbers again. and I certainly would love to pick him up throughout the year because I do love watching him. So it'll be interesting to see how he backs it up after a massive breakout. Bontempelli, I'm basically just repeating myself. He couldn't have looked more impressive. He looked insane, kicking goals, just mopping up, beautiful left boots. Yeah, again, it's not to knock them as players. It's just simply, there's a hell of a lot happening in that midfield for mine, and I'm quite happy to just chill out and watch. Now, Zach Merrett in 21% of sides concerns me a little bit. I think he's a jet and an absolute ball magnet, but I see his average... I don't know, I see last year as a bit of an inflation year for Merrett, and one we'll probably look back on as his very best. So I'm more than happy to not go with him. I probably see him probably more around that average of 107 to 111. Now, it's all well and good if it's closer to 111, but if it's more that 106, 107, then you're probably left a little bit disappointed if you pay that starting price. So I just don't know if he's a super premium, but we're going to have to pay super premium price tag. So that's the clear reason I'm leaving him out. Lachie Hunter, once again, doggy's mid. But even less so for him. He's very much an outside type. Ball magnet, no doubt about it, but I'm very comfortable sort of letting him be. Josh Kelly, he's my Brownlow selection, or him or Cripps, to be fair. I'll probably do a predictions video if I get the chance. I think he is one of the few players that can average 120. I know he hasn't quite done it yet, but he's been knocking on the door, 117, 115, and I can hear you guys saying, Kelly, he's not going to play a full season. Well, that's not going to be the case forever, is it? He's apparently had a ripping pre-season, best he's ever had. How often do we hear that? But I just think we see guys who struggle with their body a little bit. Last year's injury was pure, misfortune. We're going to see a year at some stage where Kelly is the talk of the town and just brilliant sort of player. I feel as if he's averaged amazing numbers without being considered a top 5 player in the competition already. Yet he's produced some unbelievable averages. So I feel like a career best season could be on the cards. And as you can see, I'm pretty happy to have him in my team. Paddy Dangerfield, I think he's... If you got him in the midfield, that's fine, but definitely he's a lock for the forward line. Tom Mitchell, love the price tag. I think he's slightly unders if he's fully fit, only just, but he's still pretty pricey. But he's still in a bit of doubt for round 1. I'm not sure on the latest update, but it hasn't been a good pre-season for a bloke who already has his issues and is probably always going to be the type of guy now that could just miss games because he's sore. He's probably falls into that category, unfortunately. Ball magnet is best, but might be a nice one we can pick up throughout the year. Nat Fyfe is super interesting. I am still very wary that he will play a lot of time forward. It concerns me a hell of a lot when the coach comes out and says, we love the look of our side when Fyfe is forward. That worries me. Now, by no means am I thinking he's going to only average 90 because he's playing forward all the time. He'll still play stacks of midfield, probably more than 50%. But I want to pay that sort of price and know that each and every time I watch my guy play, that he's going to be at the centre bounce 90% of the time, 80% of the time. I don't want to have quarters where Fyfe's had an amazing first half, he's on 64, thinking I've got a great captain score coming up, and then all of a sudden Freo go, let's take a look at it with Fyfe forward, and he gets 2 touches, and it can happen. He can kick 2 goals as well, but it's tougher to score up there. So that's the only reason I'm happy to just leave him be. And I wish Longmuir didn't say all that, or Longmuir, whatever his bloody name is. I wish he didn't say all that stuff because I reckon he's a decent price there. Let's sort of work our way down. We're probably getting towards, we'll probably scroll a little bit further now as a few blokes just in the 1% of sides. Pendlebury, 3% of teams, but, his fantasy days are done in my opinion. Still be a really nice operator, but gone are the days of starting with him, in my humble opinion. Travis Boak, I feel like you're paying top dollar for him. He's getting older now. There's no doubt about it. And I probably see an average in the early hundreds, to be honest. I just feel as if we'll see a slight drop off. Might be 106, could be 103, you know what I mean? So I just think we're paying absolute top end for a guy who has produced 2 of his best seasons, but he is getting closer to the end of his career. And, there's a lot of up-and-coming Port Adelaide mids, and he just doesn't light my fire. I just don't want to start him. Taylor Adams, will he be right for round 1? Let's see. But, off the back of that pre-season and just such interruption with soft tissue injuries that he's already had a lot of concerns over and trouble with, it's got to be a no. But I think he's a fantastic option to go 110. It's just a real pity that he's had an interrupted pre-season. Side bottom, being ruled out of round 1 for, he ruled out today, I think. So you got to have to get him out of your side. Treloar, again, same goes with the doggies mids. You can add in that he's pretty injury prone too, so I honestly wouldn't think about him. Gaff, you're going to get what you pay for. You're going to get a guy that's going to average anywhere from 105 to 109 probably. So, he's probably going to be a reliable M7 or M8. I don't feel the need to start with him. Some people clearly do. But yeah, he's just not for me. I just don't think he's got that upside, and it's not as though he's cheap. And yeah, he's very much an outside player, which is why we see him be so consistent, but also why we probably don't see him ever really go above 110. Laird, clearly he's a lock, sometimes in mid, but, he's definitely a lock in the back line, isn't he? Ollie Wines, definitely not for me. Just doesn't use the ball well enough for mine. He's a bit scrappy and, he's great in the contest and that sort of thing, but can find himself, a little bit slow at times. And, I don't think he's a guy that's ever going to get too much beyond 107, 108, and that's probably best case scenario. So, Dunkley, we can probably leave that conversation to the forward line. Hugh McCluggage, I don't know. Probably being a wingman, a bit like Gaff, you are limited in a way. I think McCluggage will average more than 101 this year, but I don't feel the need to start with him. There's probably just a little bit too much risk for mine. He's silky smooth. If you can fix up, some of that polish in front of goal, it'll be pretty easy for him to up that average. But yeah, it's a no for me, but he's a very talented player. Brayshaw, I don't feel any desire to pick him. 2% of people do, but I'd really encourage you not to. I just think he's still very young in the game. There's a lot of competition in that Dockers midfield, and he's just a part of the puzzle rather than being a dominant force. And for 544k, no thank you. Sam Walsh is super interesting now. I mean, he couldn't have looked more impressive. He looks like he's really ready to dominate. Ended the season fantastically well in the last 10 or so rounds or whatever it was last year. I can understand the selection. I really can. I don't mind it at all. He's going to be a bloke that is a great option for our SuperCoach sides in the years to come. The only thing I would add is that we haven't seen it before. He's untried and he's not cheap. 540. Yet we don't know if he'll be a premium. We don't know if he's going to be that guy that just always averages around 100 to 106, or is he that guy who averages 110 plus for 5 years in a row after this year? It's hard to say. I'll probably err on the side that he's going to be a premium that we do go with in the future, but he just hasn't taken my fancy. Just maybe a touch pricey. When you got the likes of Taranto not too far below him, and I really think that Simpkin's got similar scoring output, but different strokes for different blokes, I guess. Martin, that's a conversation for the forward line. Blitzarves, we touched on the back line, but it's a no. Walters will leave to the forward line. Coniglio in 2% of teams. Look, I don't know what it is with Cogs. I think he's a fantastic ball winner. He'll be in the centre bounce a hell of a lot. Don't know if he hurts you enough. He'll have days where he scores 160 plus, but he does find ways to just sort of go a bit quiet. So, for whatever reason, it's going to have to be a no. He's definitely a bloke that we've seen average fantastic numbers, but for whatever reason, I just think there's better options out there. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and averages 107, you know what I mean? Is that enough? Don't know. Maybe at that price, but like I've said with a couple of other guys, there's probably better options out there, I suggest. Zorko, we'll touch on him in the forward line. Paddy Cripps, quite simply, I think he's a lock. I feel as if a few people may have been put off by a bit of a quieter, pracky game. Not for me. You know, there were circumstances within that game that saw him play a little bit more forward, and I just don't think Cripps is the sort of guy that gives too much of a stuff about dominating preseason games, to be honest. You know, if it happened for him, great. If not, you know, he's just getting the run into the legs. He'll be fit and firing and ready to go for round one, and I'll be half a chance, if I do have a loophole, I'll be half a chance of putting the VC on him, to be fair. So I'm looking forward to an understatement. I can't bloody wait for Thursday night. Just have some footy back. I can't wait to get to a game. I don't even know when that's going to be, but gee, I'm looking forward to it. Tim Kelly, you know, I think you're paying unders, that's for sure. There's a little bit of value, but, you know, clearly he hasn't had the best pre-season, you know, been a little bit of a concern, and yeah, I just don't think there's any reason to select him as a premium option for our mids. Andy McGrath in 2% of teams. I said if they were in 2% of sides or more, I'd talk about him, but I don't think McGrath's the sort of guy we need to go with. You know, I think there'll be a day or a year where he seriously tears it apart. I'm just not sure it's this year. You know, again, a little bit of interruption through the preseason. I really love what he does, but I'm not sure he's the main man just yet. But to get a 3-figure average wouldn't shock me, but we'll just have to wait and see. He's not one to start with, certainly not. There's my man, Jai Simpkin, and I'm not going to bore you again because I've mentioned a lot throughout the preseason, but I think he's going to outscore Rowell, and I think he could be in for an average of in and around 105. I'd certainly accept that 105 mark. I think he's got the capabilities to be one of the most exciting players in the competition and one of North Melbourne's most crucial players. So I'm pretty happy with that selection. And I couldn't take him out now, could I? I've pumped him up all pre-season. I couldn't take him out now. And there is Matt Rowell. If you haven't seen my SuperCoach Traps video, I suggest you check it out because I discuss him there. And as the name suggests, I think it's a trap. For a range of reasons. Inexperience, not the best pre-season, you know, weight of expectation both internally and externally. Clubs paying a bit more attention to him. No, thank you. I think it's a trap. But feel free to check out my video that I posted about that one. Bailey Smith in 2% of sides. I think we can absolutely bypass that. He's probably a doggy that's really going to struggle for the mid-time that he would desire, just with such a weight of numbers in there. Rory Sloane, you know, on the surface it looks like you're getting a bit of value, but I think Rory's days are done as a real premium of the comp. He could average some really good numbers for sure, but his body sort of is letting him down more and more now. He's in a really struggling team, and I think they're probably going to really preference the next generation. I just don't think Sloane is capable of averaging premium numbers, so there's definitely better options just north and just south of him. Bolton we'll talk about in the forward line. Timmy Taranto now, he's one to definitely discuss a lot. I just haven't fit him into my side. You know, I probably said a while back that I didn't think he could, you know, be a premium and his top end sort of mid price, but I mean he's doing everything to sort of prove me wrong. I sort of look at him and go, look, why can't he? You know, I probably just preference green, and the fact is when it gets this deep into pre-season and you're pretty set on 95% of your team, yeah, I wouldn't mind having Taranto into my side, but it means sacrificing 2 players because I'd have to find some extra coin elsewhere. I mean, some people might just say go Taranto instead of Simpkin, but you know, I'm all about what Jai can do. So Taranto is going to play massive midfield time. he's a contested beast. The only issue I have with him is his ball use. He doesn't really have a great disposal efficiency, which can hold him back in the SuperCoach game. That's the only thing I would sort of put a rider on it. And but look, everything says that he can take his game to the next level. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But he hasn't found his way into my team. Daicos, look, he's clearly going to have an improved year, but he's not one for us to select. Ben Cunnington, again, head knocks, getting older, never been an absolute... he's been a premium, but not anything beyond 102. It's a definite no for me. Caleb Serong, super talent, probably going to have an increase in those numbers again, but he's in no man's land there. That's just no need to select him at that price. There's definitely better options. Luke Davies-Uniacke, I thought he might be in more than 2% of teams. I think he's a super talent. I reckon he'll average somewhere in the 90s, but it's probably not enough, really. It's probably not enough. I mean, you're really at that price. You really need him to go bang. You really need him to really take the next step, because 430 is not cheap. You're not really leaving yourself enough meat on the bone to make money. So you really need to be confident in his scoring ability. And while I think he can average in the 90s, if that's 91, if that's 98, then, they're far different conversations. But, I'm quite comfortable just watching from afar and hoping he explodes, but not riding the SuperCoach wave on that one. We're certainly starting to scroll through now, and hopefully I've covered off on a few guys that you're sort of thinking of already. Tom Phillips will definitely discuss more. In that Versus video that I'm putting together right now, that'll be either up before this one or after this one, I'd discuss him in a fair bit of detail. Isaac Smith in 2% of sides. No way. That is madness. No way. What else have we got? A lot of mid-price options. I'll touch on Elliott in the forward line, but there's no need to go too deep into that one. Brad Hill, 7% of sides. I think people just get excited about when he's running around and tearing the game up and, on a quick deck, he's looking the goods, but no bloody way. There's no way we should be starting Brad Hill. He'll average anywhere from 70 to 85, and it's just not going to be enough. And I'd suggest it'll be somewhere in the 70s. So, 7% of people, get him out of your team. Come on. And look, you only got to go down $3,000 for a bloke who could average 100. Tommy Green, for goodness sake. I think this kid's superstar on the rise. And I guess for me, I referenced Taranto before. It probably comes down to, do I prefer Green or Taranto? I think they have similar potential outputs, and Green's 100k cheaper. So that's pretty much where I've landed. Does worry me a touch that there is so much competition for spots in that Giants. Well, not the side. I think he'll be in the side, but probably just getting consistent midfield time. But I probably think that, if he's in the team, he doesn't play anywhere else. That's probably what I think. At times Taranto, at times Coniglio has played portions forward. But Green's an inside mid, so that gives me a bit of comfort. So I really look forward to watching what he does. He's a bit of point of difference. If it comes off, I'll be pleased. If it doesn't, I'll be falling on my sword. Caldwell we'll discuss in further detail, but I'm a big fan, as you can see. We'll discuss him in the forward line. And we're sort of starting to get towards the end of it. But Dyson Heppell, it's a no thanks for me. I just don't think he's, looked amazing enough to really catch the eye. That body's an enormous concern. A real injury that's just reoccurred and sort of haunted him. So I'm quite happy to pass up on that opportunity. Yes, he's cheap. Yes, he could average in the 90s. He definitely could, but I've just landed on other options. I think the body is the main concern. Half-back flank, he could average anywhere from, sort of 87, 88. He could bump it up to mid-90s. You just never know, but just too much concern over that injury bobbing up again, potentially. Nick Blakey, 2% of teams, and I think he could be a guy that really soars his numbers. Again, I haven't thought about picking him. I got him in my draft team. I was really pleased with that. Got him really late. But But yeah, he's not one we should select in SuperCoach Classic, but he has a lot of upside. There's no doubt about that. Jackson Hately, by the sounds of it, he might not even play round one. Sounds like he's out of favour. So I think he's probably a guy that in the preseason we hoped he might come through with the goods. It seems as if he probably hasn't. So I think we can safely say he isn't an option we should go with. We're really working our way down now. There probably won't be too many more options at all because I won't sort of discuss rookies. I did my rookie guide the other day, and there's stacks in that if you're interested. Rory Atkinson, 2% of teams. No, come on. I don't think so. Dom Tyson, okay, he's worth a mention. Genuine chance. Genuine chance to have a really good year. Sorry, my eye just got drawn to Jordan Clark being in 43% of teams. It was 40 yesterday. Fuck, haven't people... I thought it was done. I thought it was going to stop about mid-30s. Anyway, Dom Tyson is a genuine option. I think that we've seen him average 90 before. He's had a stellar preseason, and sometimes that's all it takes for these guys that just can't get on the park, but when they finally do, they have that impact. Look, if I could get him in and manoeuvre a few things, yeah, maybe I would, but I've got a few other mid-prices that I prefer. So that's just sort of the way I've seen it. But I understand the selection. I think he could average some really solid numbers. There's a fair bit of discussion about North Melbourne and a fair few spots up for grabs in the midfield. So it'll be very interesting to see who gets large percentages, and it'd be very interesting to see. Jordan Clark touched on in the back line, but we won't harp on it. Once a POD, not anymore. Shorty's sad, blah, blah, blah. But Chase Jones just doesn't seem to be producing, does he? A really high pick. Clearly some people have some faith, but I think you can just pocket that faith and just watch from afar. I don't see any need to jump at him just yet. He hasn't given us any reason to suggest he's going to break out. One day he might. I hope he does. Clearly a talented player at some point, but it hasn't transitioned just yet. And Paddy Dow, we'll get to him in the forward line, I think. So that's a wrap. That is a wrap. I hope I've discussed one of the players that maybe you were hoping I would. Like I said, anyone who is in a decent percentage of size, at least 2%, clearly someone's thinking about him out there. I try to touch on. So it's sort of short and sharp. Sort of dot point style, a few lines on each guy. Hopefully the timestamps have sort of helped you out sifting through this one. Plenty of content coming your way. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd love you to. I've been getting quite a few through the door actually, which I've been rapt about. It certainly is the best indication for me when I'm doing these videos. Obviously the views and the subs, when they're going in the right direction, it sort of makes me hungrier to do more content. And look, I think the live sessions have been a big part of that too. So I'm looking forward to going live. If you didn't catch my shout out at the start of the video, going live at 7:30 on the Wednesday. So that's tomorrow. And we'll try and sort your side out for round one and answer some heavy questions. Should be good. But I reckon that about sums it up. Got a few videos to post tomorrow. Got a few. I'll probably hit the gym. I'm working at 3, so I'll probably upload this one, gym sesh, into work, and we'll see how we go. But it's a flat out week, just doing all these vids, trying to. It's not like I have to do them, but I really want to do them. I think there's some good content to be done, and you guys been really keen to get involved. So hopefully you're enjoying all the stuff I'm putting out. I appreciate your support, whether you've been around for a couple of weeks or a couple of years. No doubt about that. So thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.